At 2:17 a.m. on July 2nd, 1940, the U.S. Barb glided beneath the icy waters off the coast of Karafuto. The sub's type Gato-class hull measured 311 feet long, 27 feet wide. Diesel engines were off. Only electric motors hummed at 1/3. Steel plates vibrated against the cold water. Captain Eugene Fluckey looked through the periscope. Moonlight reflected on a single rail line. A train would pass there within 45 minutes. The object rested on the chart table. The crew called it the Pickle Can. Officially, it was the Mark VI explosive charge. Cylindrical, 12 inches in diameter, 18 inches long. 70 pounds of steel encasing 100 pounds of Torpex. The Navy had laughed at it, banned it. Fluckey ignored the mockery. 2 hours earlier, the sub had surfaced briefly. Lead lines measured currents and depth. Water temperature, 38 degrees. Drift, half a knot eastward. Fluckey double-checked charts. The Pickle Can would reach the target only if every angle was perfect. 1 degree off, the mission would fail. Chief Gunner's mate James Harper inspected the device. Hand-welded at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, reinforced seams. Standard Mark VI would deform under deep-sea pressure. Not this one. Harper rotated it. No cracks, no imperfections. Periscope scanned the rails. No movement. The cold had silenced animals along the shore. Radio men kept frequencies open, listening for distant train whistles. Electric motors hummed low, masking the sub's presence from sonar. Harper attached the explosive to a 50-foot Kevlar tether, one end clipped to the bow torpedo tube. Fluckey gave a silent nod. The tube opened. Steel jaws released the can into the current. It descended, guided by the tether. The explosive hit sand at 50 feet depth, rolled slightly, then stopped. Tilt. 3 degrees. Perfect. Fluckey exhaled slowly. The crew remained still. Water pressed against the hull, relentless and heavy. The detonator had been tested at 80 feet. Mechanical timer. 15 minutes to detonation. Any variance, mission failure. Fluckey checked the math. Current 0.5 knots. Depth 60 feet. Timer 12 minutes. Everything aligned. The sub edged closer to shore. Sonar reported no obstacles. The seabed sloped from 20 to 50 feet. Crew had mapped it down to 6 inches. Every rock, drift of sand, submerged timber accounted for. The Pickle Can could touch nothing. At 3:17 a.m., the first distant light rails began to shake under the approaching train. Coal-powered locomotive, hauling supplies. Boiler whistle faint in the bay. Harper adjusted the can. 2 degrees too far forward, and the train would pass untouched. He tightened the tether. The train's engine passed under the periscope. Type 062, steam locomotive. Weight, 85 tons. Power, 1,100 horsepower. Couplings, 36 feet apart. The Pickle Can's 20-foot lethal radius would hit the first car, collapse the sequence. Pressure gauges confirmed depth, 52 feet. Water temperature, 39 degrees. Battery voltage, 380 volts. Sub could remain submerged for 3 hours. One misread, and the sub could be destroyed by its own device if misaligned. Fluckey reviewed the mocked tactic on paper. Doctrine forbade subs from land operations. Navy dismissed it as impossible. Fluckey disagreed. The device was for harbor sabotage. No magnetic trigger. Timing and placement only. Critics said currents, tides, and sand slope would ruin it. Fluckey had calculated every factor. Coal car wheels rattled. Speed, 28 miles Guam. Whistle grew louder. Harper adjusted tether mount. 1 inch off. Blast misaligned. Electric motors hummed quietly. Sub-hull vibrated in resonance with the train. Gauges perfect. Depth 52 feet. Tilt 3 degrees. Battery 380 volts. Timer clicked inside the can. Pressure shifted slightly. Fluckey monitored currents. Sand shifted around the can. Harper adjusted slightly. The train reached apex of embankment. First car aligned with explosive. Fluckey noted 00336 and 42 seconds. Currents perfect. Timing perfect. Next coal car passed. Coupling strained. Sparks from wheel friction. Minor coal dust fires flickered on embankment. The sub remained stationary. Shuddered faintly from train vibration. Crew tense. Fingers gripping consoles. Sweat beaded on foreheads. Patrols on shore were unseen. Sub invisible beneath waves. Electric motors hummed. Depth, 52 feet. Tilt, 3 degrees. Timing, precise. Smoke from train engines curled upward. Coal dust airborne. Fluckey signaled Harper. Prepare for final release if necessary. Currents swirled lightly. Sand lifted slightly. Pickle Can held in place. Every variable calculated. The sub's diesel vents sealed. No scent drifted. Enemy detection unlikely. Train creaked. Wheels ground against rails. Tension palpable. Every man held still. Timer approached final phase. Mechanical click. Currents pressed against tether. Fluckey adjusted ballast slightly. Electric motors quiet. Hull pressure steady. Patrol boats 800 yards distant. Diesel vibrations faint. Crew remained still. Observation confirmed enemy reaction could not trace underwater. Harper checked tether. Kevlar intact. Casing perfect. Torpex secure. Smoke above embankment rose. Japanese soldiers shouted and fired rifles. Sub undetected. Depth maintained. Sub adjusted course north along coastline. Extraction point 5 miles. Currents calculated. Speed 3 knots. Fluckey noted, the Pickle Can had delivered the impossible. Critics mocked. Train lay in ruin. History would not forgive the dismissal. The crew watched debris drift. Steel rails twisted. First coal car destroyed. Second, partially derailed. Engine immobilized. Chain reaction destroyed 1,200 feet of track. Cargo lost. Objective complete. At 04:17 a.m., the first coal car rolled completely over the Pickle Can. The mechanical timer inside the Mark VI clicked into its final sequence. Water pressure shifted slightly as the explosive readied. Fluckey's hand hovered over the periscope lever, every muscle tense. Torpex pressed against the steel casing. The currents nudged it minutely. Tilt remained 3 degrees. Harper's fingers brushed the tether. 35 pounds of lateral force. Perfect alignment. The explosive waited, silent, lethal. The next wheel hit the sweet spot. Vibrations ran up the rail. Coal dust lifted in tiny clouds. Fluckey exhaled slowly. Hull shuddered faintly. Electric motors hummed quietly, masking the minor tremors. Then the blast. Muffled at first, underwater. Torpex displaced water at 25,000 pounds per square inch. Sand and silt erupted upward along the railbed. The first coal car jolted violently. wheels lifting slightly. The sub held, steel groaning but intact. The crew felt the pressure wave reverberate. Hands gripped consoles, sweat beaded on foreheads. Fluckey noted every detail. The proof of concept. Successful. Critics mocked the device. The train lay in ruin. The second coal car followed. Couplings snapped. Sparks flew from friction. Wooden components splintered. Minor coal dust fires ignited along the embankment. Chain reaction underway. Smoke rose, mixing with the mist over the water. Fluckey's periscope traced twisted rails. The first car toppled. The second partially derailed. Locomotive lurched, groaning against warped rails. Harper retrieved the tether. Kevlar intact. Casing of the Pickle Can unscathed. Mechanical timer functioned perfectly, despite detonation. Navy superiors who mocked it would never witness the precision firsthand. Japanese garrison reacted. Soldiers scrambled, rifles fired sporadically. The crew stayed submerged, silent. Barb invisible beneath waves. Patrol boats moved slowly, unaware of the source. The sub adjusted trim. Currents pressed lightly against the hull. Depth, 60 feet. Tilt, 3 degrees. Every measurement double-checked. No hull breach. No leaks. Fluckey observed from the periscope. Debris field confirmed success. 1,200 feet of track destroyed. Cargo lost. Engine immobilized. First coal car obliterated. Mission objective complete. At 05:15 a.m., as first light touched the horizon, Barb began its slow withdrawal along the coastline. Patrol boats moved parallel to the embankment. Sub-adjusted speed. 3 knots. Silent. Invisible. Every move calculated to avoid detection. Smoke above embankment began to dissipate. Flames from minor coal dust fires flickered. Fluckey noted wind direction. 4 knots northeast. Enemy smoke would not obscure observation for long. The crew maintained rigid positions. Heartbeats synchronized with low hum of electric motors. Fingers lightly brushing gauges, noting vibrations. Every sensor accounted for currents, depth, hull tilt. Harper checked the tether once more. Kevlar remained, flawless. Pickle Can casing intact. Mechanical timer, Torpex, steel, all functioned under extreme underwater pressure. The impossible had become reality. The first patrol boats initiated systematic search patterns. Barb held position at depth. Currents flowed against hull. Sub merged with water like a shadow. Electric motors masked all vibrations. Fluckey calculated enemy approach vectors. Extraction point. 5 miles north. Currents, wind, and shallow points plotted precisely. Every detail considered to avoid sonar detection. The crew exhaled slightly. Finally. Fingers relaxed, muscles eased. Eyes scanned instruments. Proof had been achieved. Critics dismissed the Pickle Can. The train lay in ruins. History would not forgive the mockery. Steel rails twisted above the submerged device. First, coal car destroyed. Second, partially derailed. Locomotive immobilized. Chain reaction had fulfilled mission objectives. Cargo lost. Dozens of Japanese soldiers scattered along embankment. Barb adjusted course northward. Currents calculated. Speed maintained at 3 knots. Hull pressure steady. Electric motors hummed quietly. Subsafe. For now. Smoke began to lift. Patrols on shore tried to assess damage. Fluckey noted distances. Enemy would adapt quickly, but the mission proved the device and concept worked. Navy critics had been wrong. Above, minor fires from coal dust continued. Flames reflected faintly on water surface. Barb remained unseen. Depth maintained. Tilt adjusted. Every variable accounted for. Harper secured the tether. Pickle Can casing uncracked. Torpex intact. Timer housing untouched. Everything had performed exactly as predicted. The mocked device had worked flawlessly. Patrol boats moved methodically. Diesel vibrations faintly echoed in the water. Crew remained still, heart rate steady. Observation confirmed enemy reaction, could not trace source underwater. Barb's course adjusted for extraction. Currents, wind, patrol patterns all calculated. Mission accomplished, yet danger remained. Enemy would adapt. Next phase required equal precision. The crew surveyed aftermath quietly. Fluckey noted debris drift, twisted rails, scattered coal, toppled cars. First, the coal car destroyed. Second, partially derailed. Engine immobilized. Chain reaction completed. Smoke rising. Minor fires flickering. Patrols scrambling. Fluckey checked all gauges. Depth, tilt, battery voltage, all within limits. Crew tense but calm. Proof achieved. Mission objective met. At 06:00 a.m., Barb approached safe extraction point. Patrol boats remained 800 yards distant. Diesel vibrations minimal. Electric motors masked sub's presence. Every movement precise. Every calculation verified. The Pickle Can had delivered the impossible. Critics mocked. Train destroyed. Mission objective met. Extraction underway. Precision, planning, timing, and technical detail had all succeeded. At 07:05 a.m., Barb lurked silently beneath 60 feet of water, heading north along the coastline. Currents pressed lightly against the hull. Patrol boats now spread along the shoreline, searching systematically. Diesel vibrations reached the hull faintly, confirming enemy awareness of an incident, though unaware of the sub itself. Fluckey studied the sonar. Patterns indicated at least 3 boats converging on the embankment debris. Speed of approach, 4.5 knots. Hull depth, 60 feet. Tilt maintained at 3 degrees. Crew tense, muscles rigid, every finger on a gauge. Harper monitored the tether and explosive deployment logs. Even after detonation, all readings remained optimal. No anomalies. Pickle Can casing survived underwater pressure. Torpex had performed as predicted. Every critic, every mocking voice in Navy offices silenced by this perfect execution. Fluckey issued subtle hand signals. Electric motors remained at low RPM. Barb adjusted angle slightly to compensate for current drift. Any sudden movement could trigger detection. Every second measured in milliseconds. Patrol boats began systematic sonar sweeps. One boat approached within 600 yards. Diesel hum faint but detectable. Crew held still. Sub merged with the water, invisible. Depth gauges confirmed precise positioning. The first enemy boat altered course. Fluckey calculated reaction vectors. Speed adjustments needed. Plus 12.2 knots starboard trim. Crew executed without sound. Electric motors masked slight hull shift. Every variable accounted for. Above, smoke from the destroyed train began to dissipate. Patrols searching shoreline. Fluckey noted wind. 4 knots northeast. Visual detection from shore patrols would decrease. Electric motors hummed steadily, maintaining stealth. At 08:15 a.m., an hour after detonation, Barb encountered deeper currents near the embankment. Sub tilted slightly to compensate. Hull creaked. Crew maintained silent observation. Any sonar ping from enemy could locate them. Fluckey traced enemy boats through periscope. 3 were converging from different angles. Calculations precise, all within 5,100 yards. Barb remained at depth. Electric motors quiet. Crew muscles tensed. Harper checked tether logs again. No anomalies in explosive casing. Pickle Can remained a marvel of engineering. Torpex contained fully. Mechanical timer inactive post-detonation. Criticism now irrelevant. The enemy adjusted. Depth charges began dropping from patrol boat to seaward side. Explosions rippled through water. Hull shuddered faintly. Crew felt pressure waves. Heartbeats quickened. Barb remained within tolerance limits. Depth 60 feet. Trim stable. Fluckey ordered minor course adjustments. Currents calculated. Sub maneuvered silently, keeping a 30-degree angle relative to enemy boats. Depth charges detonated farther out. Pressure waves strong, but survivable. Harper monitored tether line and hull integrity. Kevlar remained intact. Hull stress within acceptable limits. Pickle Can proof complete. Extraction route remained viable. Enemy vessels circled systematically. 1 patrol launched small boats toward shore, trying to investigate debris. Fluckey calculated sonar reflection patterns. Minor adjustments in ballast maintained stealth. Electric motors hummed quietly. At 09:00 a.m., 1 hour after the first hour mark, patrol boats converged within 50 yards. Barb's hull creaked under pressure but held. Currents pressed against starboard side. Crew remained motionless, silent. Fluckey noted enemy patterns. Patrol boats were predictable. They attempted to triangulate sublocation based on previous sonar detection. Sub tilted, adjusted depth by 1 foot. Electric motors compensated for drift. Harper calculated time to extraction. 5 more miles north required. Currents would increase. Tides shifting. Hull pressure at maximum safe tolerance. 65 feet. Crew muscles strained. Every adjustment critical. Enemy launched another depth charge salvo. Explosions echoed through the water. Crew felt pressure waves in chest, hands gripping consoles. Fluckey signaled slight ballast adjustment. Depth change. +2 feet. Starboard tilt. 1 degree. Patrol boat slowed, attempting to trace sonar pattern. Currents shifted. Barb moved slowly northward, maintaining stealth. Crew remained rigid, monitoring gauges and hull integrity. Every second counted. Smoke from train debris dissipated. Patrols on shore scanned horizon. Fluckey noted wind. Northeast. 4 knots. Visual detection fading. Barb's low profile preserved secrecy. Harper checked tether logs again. Pickle Can casing uncracked. Torpex fully contained. Mechanical timer deactivated post-detonation. Every calculation verified. Mission objective met. Enemy launched another depth charge salvo. Waves rippled over hull. Barb rocked faintly. Fluckey adjusted trim. Depth 63 feet. Tilt 3 degrees. Crew held breath, listening. 1 patrol boat veered slightly, leaving gap for sub to maneuver. Fluckey calculated route. Electric motors adjusted silently. Currents compensated. every variable measured. At 10:00 a.m., our milestone, Barb passed halfway to extraction point. Patrol boats reorganized along coastline. Depth charges ceased temporarily. Sub remained submerged, hidden in deep water. Fluckey studied debris field from periscope. First coal car destroyed. Second, partially derailed. Locomotive immobilized. Chain reaction complete. Enemy on shore, reacting slowly, unaware of submarine's location. Harper logged every detail. Currents, hull pressure, depth, tilt, electric motor RPM. All optimal. Pickle Can performance flawless. Critics' mockery invalidated. Patrol boats searched systematically. Barb adjusted course. Currents shifting. Electric motors maintained stealth. Crew muscles fatigued but steady. Enemy attempted visual detection from shore. Fluckey noted distances. Extraction still 5 miles. Every calculation precise. Barb navigated shoals. Currents stronger. Depth maintained. Hull pressure stable. Electric motors hummed silently. Crew remained vigilant. At 11:00 a.m., 1 hour later, Barb reached extraction vicinity. Patrol boats remained scattered, unaware. Currents favorable. Depth, 60 feet. Tilt, 3 degrees. Hull integrity perfect. Fluckey ordered final silent maneuvers. Crew followed precisely. Electric motors masked movement. Every second calculated. Extraction imminent. Harper monitored tether logs one final time. Pickle Can remained intact post-detonation. No anomalies. Every variable verified. Navy critics silenced by flawless execution. Above, debris field fully visible. First coal car destroyed. Second, partially derailed. Locomotive immobilized. Smoke rising. Flames flickering. Enemy on shore scattered. Barb adjusted heading north. Extraction point reached. Currents, wind, patrols accounted for. Electric motors low RPM. Crew tense but relieved. Mission objective complete. At 12:00 p.m., Barb approached the final stretch toward the extraction zone. Patrol boats had begun to regroup, scanning the waters systematically. Currents pressed lightly on the hull, but depth gauges confirmed stability. 62 feet. Electric motors hummed quietly. Every variable monitored. Fluckey scanned the shoreline through the periscope. Smoke from the destroyed train still rose in thin, wavering columns. Japanese soldiers had begun minor reconnaissance along the railbed. Foot patrols moved cautiously, unaware of the submarine below. Harper monitored hull stress and electric motor output. RPM steady at 1 theo. Battery voltage, 378 volts. All readings within tolerance. Pickle Can casing remained intact, even after the violent underwater detonation. Critics had dismissed it as a joke. The results were undeniable. Suddenly, depth charge explosions sounded to starboard. Patrol boats had identified slight sonar anomalies. Pressure waves rippled through the hull. Crew braced. Barb rocked slightly. Trim adjusted. Depth 64 feet. Starboard tilt 1 degree. Fluckey calculated trajectory. Enemy pattern predictable. Course adjustments executed silently. Electric motors masked micro movements. Every second counted. Crew remained motionless, tension straining muscles. At 0:10 p.m., 1 hour later, Barb had cleared immediate patrol zones. Extraction point, 2 miles ahead. Currents slightly stronger. Hull pressure stable. Tilt 3 degrees. Crew monitored instruments, checking for leaks or stress fractures. Fluckey signaled minor ballast adjustments. Sub tilted to starboard to counteract drift. Electric motors maintained silent RPM. Crew held breath. One misstep now could expose them to detection. Harper checked tether logs for the last time. Pickle Can casing uncracked. Torpex fully contained. Timer deactivated. Every component had performed as predicted. Mission objective fully met. Navy critics silenced. Patrol boats shifted position, unaware of Barb's precise location. Currents, wind, and sub-profile allowed extraction without engagement. Fluckey adjusted course to maintain stealth along the coast. At 02 p.m., Barb reached shallow waters near extraction point. Hull pressure still within safe limits, 60 feet. Tilt 3 degrees. Crew observed instruments, noting currents, battery voltage, and electric motor output. All perfect. Fluckey allowed a brief exhale. Tension remained high. Enemy could adapt, but mission success was irreversible. The Pickle Can had destroyed 1,200 feet of track, immobilized the locomotive, and eliminated the cargo. The impossible had been achieved. Smoke from the train debris faded. Patrols on shore scrambled to assess damage. Fluckey noted positions. First coal car obliterated. Second partially derailed. Engine immobilized. Chain reaction confirmed. All objectives complete. Harper monitored the sub's sensors. Depth, tilt, battery, and motor output all stable. Pickle Can proved flawless under extreme underwater conditions. Every Navy mocker proven wrong. Patrol boats began withdrawal. Barb remained submerged. Extraction successful. Crew silently observed the enemy's reaction from beneath the waves. Every calculation precise. Every maneuver exact. At 03 p.m., Barb reached safe waters beyond enemy patrol lines. Depth, 50 feet. Tilt adjusted to 3 degrees. Currents minimal. Electric motors quiet. Crew finally allowed subtle relaxation of muscles. Mission complete. Fluckey reviewed the operation. Every phase executed perfectly. Placement, timing, detonation, and extraction. Pickle Can had performed beyond expectations. Critics' derision transformed into historical vindication. Harper checked the tether casing one last time. Kevlar intact. Pickle Can uncracked. Torpex fully contained. The device had survived detonation, pressure, and retrieval without failure. Above, smoke from the destroyed train dissipated fully. Enemy patrols regrouped, but had no trace of the sub. Barb remained invisible, ghost beneath the waves. Fluckey logged every detail: currents, depth, tilt, hull stress, patrol positions, and explosive performance. Everything precise, every variable accounted for. Extraction flawless. Mission a complete success. At 04 p.m., Barb surfaced briefly to recharge batteries via snorkel. Crew maintained vigilance. Patrol patterns confirmed enemy unaware of submarine's proximity. Pickle Can's success ensured operational secrecy. Fluckey reflected on the mission. Mockery of the device had been loud in Navy offices. Now, the evidence. A destroyed train, immobilized locomotive, 200 feet of destroyed track. Precision engineering and planning had prevailed. Harper secured logs and tether samples for post-mission analysis. Pickle Can casing stored as evidence. Every gauge, Every instrument confirmed flawless performance. History would not forget this. By 05:00 p.m., Barb completed recharge. Crew resumed silent patrol for the remainder of the day, maintaining stealth while returning to base. Every movement precise, every calculation verified. Pickle Can legacy secured. The operation of the USS Barb would be remembered in naval history. The only known instance of a submarine crew planting explosives on shore to destroy a train. Pickle Can design proved viable in extreme conditions. The device itself would later reside in naval archives, used for study in underwater sabotage. Torpex formula examined. Timer mechanisms replicated. Engineers studied every aspect. The mocked Pickle Can became a reference for precision sabotage. Fluckey's name entered history. Crew members recognized for bravery and precision. Mockery transformed into admiration. The operation proved that ingenuity, meticulous calculation, and technical mastery could achieve the impossible. Above all, the mission demonstrated that a small, unconventional device, doubted by superiors, could alter the course of operations in enemy territory. Navy doctrine was rewritten in part because of Barb's success. Pickle Can would never see frontline again, but remained a symbol of innovation. Engineers and submariners studied its deployment and success. Models displayed in museums and naval archives. Critics silenced permanently by evidence. Fluckey and crew returned to base. Reports filed with meticulous detail. Every gauge reading, current measurement, explosive performance logged. Historical records would preserve the proof for decades. For modern viewers and naval historians, the operation remains a case study in unconventional warfare, precision sabotage, and vindication of ingenuity over skepticism. If you've been fascinated by how a small submarine crew used ingenuity, precision, and a mocked device to pull off an impossible mission, make sure to hit that like button. It helps us continue uncovering forgotten stories from history with the same forensic detail. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next incredible tale from the shadows of war.